Welcome to Healthy Minds. My name is Juan Strickland, and I'm a certified teacher of a program called Family to Family, put on by NAMI, and NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
My name is LaShawn McCautry, and I am a social worker with the County of Riverside.
Today we're going to talk about the fog of depression. And that word fog connotates that depression kind of impedes a person's ability to function, clouds their mind, clouds maybe their judgment. I think it's a very important description regarding depression. That's right.
So what is depression? I mean, people use that term sometimes very loosely. I'm depressed today, or this is so depressing. What really is depression? How would you describe that?
Well, we understand it as a mood disorder.
Correct.
It is a disorder. It tends to be chronic. We're talking about clinical depression, something that would result in a diagnosis. We're not talking about episodic depression. All of us have gone through episodes of being depressed. We lost a loved one, we lost a job. But something that goes on for usually longer than 2 weeks consistently can become a chronic condition and become a clinical issue. Some of the ways you would know someone might be depressed are numerous. They feel sad, a sense of emptiness, nothing really can seem to bring them joy. Their fatigue, loss of energy, loss of sleep. I remember back in 2010 when I was diagnosed with cancer, I went through a couple weeks of feeling depressed. The sunshine on my body didn't make me feel better. Going into my garden, which is my sanctuary, didn't make me feel better.
Right.
I had this fog. Thank God I came out of it. It was just an episode. It wasn't a clinical issue with me. So that's something to remember.
So you talk about that emptiness, loneliness, diminished interest. What does it look like in adolescents or children? What can it look like?
Well, with kids, often it can be really more of an emotional decision. You'll see them isolating. You'll see their behavior change. You may see them sleeping a lot more than normal.
It's true.
You may see some lethargy. So, those are ways that children may display depression as well.
As well as, in addition to all that, just being irritable.
Correct.
I think is especially in younger children, they may not display some of the other ones, but there's this heightened irritability.
That's right. You may see increased agitation,
Right.
aggravation, especially in school with teachers, or with authority, or even with students of their likeness. You may see that kind of behavior exhibited and magnified in the school system.
That's right. That's right.
There are, we have here symptoms of depression that cause distress and impairment, whether it's social impairment, vocational, occupational impairment. All those affect those that have depression.
So basically, it's those symptoms have to affect their functioning.
Correct.
Meaning, going to work might be difficult, going to school might be difficult for them.
Right.
It affects their functioning
That's
on
right.
a daily basis. Is that correct?
And often you'll see a marked change in behavior, and often people will minimize it and blow it off as they're being lazy, they're being irresponsible, when in fact there's something clinically going on in their brain, something of a biological nature that impairs their ability to function in a normal way.
That's right.
Also, symptoms of depression can be brought on through substance abuse, or a person self-medicating to numb themselves or to take themselves to a different place mentally. So we have to be very much aware of that as well.
Right.
Let's talk about women and depression.
Yeah, so depression affects 2 to 3 times as many women as men, both in the US and in many societies around the world. It's actually estimated that 1 out of every 8 women will probably suffer from clinical depression in their lifetime. The explanation for this gender gap in susceptibility to depression lies due to a combination of biological, genetic, physiological, and social factors.
I even heard of something called postpartum depression.
Yes. Postpartum depression is usually relates to women after giving birth.
Okay.
And in that, I'm not sure how exactly the length of period or length of time,
Right.
but usually after giving birth, they are depressed, clinically depressed.
And I know there's a hormonal connection as well to that
Right.
whole situation.
How about men?
Well, men and depression. Men don't get depressed. You know?
Really?
Men often go into denial. Men absolutely get depressed. Often males tend to, initiate signs of anger and agitation. And in society, in just the way we are built, men are supposed to be providers and protectors.
That's right.
And when they're not able to function in that capacity, often there's a sense of anger that's displayed. It says that anger is a common manifestation of clinical depression in men. Men by nature are taught to be a protector, to be a provider.
To be macho, right?
To be macho, right? Not to show emotion. They are to be the first in line, to be the fixer of the situation or the problem solver.
Yeah. That's a lot of,
Pressure.
yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about some of the causes of depression. There's not a single cause that we can point to, but we have here trauma, either ongoing trauma or past trauma. It could have been verbal abuse, it could have been the sexual abuse, it could have been physical abuse. Genetics has a big component to play with depression.
Right.
Life circumstances, whether it's a marital situation, financial issues going on. One of the things I wanted to point out about the genetic component is fascinating to me, and I wanted to share this with you. This research comes from the NAMI education course that we teach every year in Family to Family. It talks about genetic research indicates that an individual's risk of developing mental illness correlates with his or her genetic relatedness to a first-degree relative. So what is a first-degree relative? Well, that could be a brother or a sister, a mother or a father.
Right.
But there's a baseline here with this research. So let's say there is no first-line relative that has had depression in the past in your family. There's no genetic relationship. The chances of one receiving major depression or being diagnosed with major depression is 5%. That's the risk, 5% risk. 95% risk of not getting depression. However, throw in now, my brother had depression growing up. What are my chances of getting it? My sister had it. What are my chances? In that situation, the chances triple. It goes to 15% chance of becoming depressed.
Okay.
What about if one of my parents had depression, clinical depression? The chances, again, jump to 15%.
Wow.
What about twins? What if I'm a twin and my twin has had depression? What are genetic chances of me getting depression? Believe this, 59%.
Wow.
So genetics plays a big factor
Absolutely.
in terms of cause of depression.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about treatment. There's medication, because we're talking about the brain and that the brain is not functioning properly. The neurons are not functioning, right?
Right.
The ability to manage your time, to manage your life, the ability to make smart decisions, all that's affected by depression, but medication can help bring that back to a healthy baseline. And then there's psychotherapy.
Absolutely. And the combination of both is probably even
That's
higher.
the key.
Right.
That's right.
Combination of both, not just one without the other, but both can be pretty effective.
And what it says here is that most people who adhere to both of those situations or avenues, treatment improves them substantially.
Right.
And there is hope for them.
And that's key. There is hope.
That's right. There is always hope.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say finally, as we summarize, here are a few things to remember in summary. Communicate with your loved ones. Don't judge them. Understand there can be many causes. There could be trauma, there could be stress, there could be a genetic component, there could be a biological component, There could be pain that they're dealing with, physical pain as well as emotional pain, and there could be substance abuse.
Right.
One of the things that we try to get people to really focus on is different programs for recovery, wellness, and treatment. And I can say that I have a family member that actually has been a part of all of these programs. Some of them are the River Community Social Recovery Model in Covina, the Inland Valley Recovery Program out of Upland, the Bimini Recovery Treatment Program, residential program in Koreatown in downtown LA, Tri-City Mental Health, Tri-City Therapeutic Gardening, and South Coast Community Services. I have touched, through my family member, every one of those treatment programs, and every single one of them have been helpful over time. We want to thank you for this Healthy Mind segment on the fog of depression.
Thank you.